Hi, everybody. My name is Aaron Shea. It's an honor to have you join me as we discuss two fun topics today for today's Habitat Zoom. We're already in June. It's amazing, and it's still an incredible experience to come to the gallery and see the Glass52 exhibition if you have not. But let's cut into the presentation. We have a lot to cover, considering we're covering two topics today. One is works that sold during Glass52 so far. I'll give you a sample of what people have been purchasing and taking home, and we're delivering, and we're actually sending Debbie on the road. She's going to be delivering some work because she's going to see family, and it's on the way, and we're grateful to have her do that, which is fun and unique too. And then the Flint Institute of Arts. We'll see how long we get into that presentation. We had a fun party there. I'll get into that more. So without further ado, I'll start going through this. If you sign up for these Zooms, I send an email out every week, probably two of them. But if you can always go to our website in the top right under this little button right here is a little hamburger, they call that. And the Zoom links are right there. So feel free to click there if you can't seem to find a link. Um, Also, Glass52 is a great success. We're having more people come and visit and see the show consistently, making purchases. It's an amazing display. The gallery was remodeled, as I mentioned before, in a couple other Zooms, and it's just one of the best ever. So come and see the show. If you haven't, I'll give you a personal tour. Either myself or Corey or Regina or Debbie are always in the gallery, so it's great to have you guys visit. Um, we're still doing FaceTimes and Zooms since the pandemic. People like to look at artwork sometimes from their own home. Happy to do that. Lots to see. We'll cover it here. So something new is we have an exclusive with artist Tolan Sand offering his newest work first. And I want to kind of give you a glimpse of a brand new piece that just came to me yesterday by our friend Tolan. We're doing a small presentation going out later today of his new available piece. And it's great because I think Tolan's making the best work of his career. And this OLED series has been very, very popular. And we have a limited time to offer this piece exclusively. But he makes these works in small to extremely large size, and we have one of the small pieces, which is really, really priced well and available. So if you're looking for a tonal sand, that could be a place a piece to acquire. We continue to do NGG, the future of art, every single first Saturday of the month, usually. So I hope you all are learning from that experience and meeting some artists you've never heard about. Last presentation or two, we had Sarah Brown, so a couple of her very fun pieces, and we had one last week too. So we continue to enjoy that and dive into the world of artists we normally won't show in the gallery or can't show. So if you're in town, we're going to be at the Michigan Glass Project. And for those who aren't familiar with this, it's down in Detroit at the Russell Industrial Center. It is a big pipe show, and we were invited by the Channel 4, the local news station, to come and put some artwork at their booth because what are they going to do, right? So we're going to be going down there, bringing some Maniscalco work, probably some Paul Stankards, other things that are attractive, Robert Mickelson's, other works that are attracted from that art world and have some fun. So it's an amazing experience. The energy there is incredible. The glass community from the pipe world is very youthful, and we're still learning about it price wise. But there is some pieces that go up to $250,000 based upon collaborative work. So it's a really impressive thing to go see. So we'll be there. So we're here into the Zoom. Let's go and kick into what has sold, some of what was acquired during Glass52. So you're invited to come see the show, as I mentioned. The show's not to be missed, but we sold, I put like maybe 14 pieces so far in this presentation, just what I could quickly find, but a nice variety of work by some of the most talented artists working across the entire planet. So we've been doing really well with the Deanna Clayton female sculptures, these humanoid pate verre pieces, multicolored or single colored. Their heads are cast and busts. The rest of it is pate verre, and they are very fun. And we've been doing priced really well. And she also does two things. She puts a little pop light underneath them sometimes so they can glow. And two, she does a glass class. If you haven't done one of her classes, you attend an event, you pay a fee, which is nominal, and you make a bowl. She actually helps you make a bowl using her process of pate verre glass, and she fires it and sends it to you. I think the whole thing's under $250. My wife and I did it along with Debbie at the gallery. It was a blast, and we're honored to have her in the show. So this was one of the earliest pieces to sell in the exhibition. And we sold Lucky's Shot. This was a piece in the solo exhibition by Julia and Robin Rogers. They actually made this piece for the show. Multiple people, multiple animals, uh, based off a lowbrow artwork painting that Julia Rogers had in her room growing up. of dogs playing pool. You know, you've heard of dogs playing poker or all those kind of art pieces. And they actually physically made this piece. And this piece was actually acquired by a museum in Germany to represent American artists. We worked with the ETN Gallery owned by Victor Borowski, which is in Germany. And they brought some collectors over and curators from the museum. And I announced this on Facebook, but we'll announce it more once the works go. But they selected 8 pieces of artwork to represent American artists that will be on display in their permanent collection. And this is one of them. So we're honored to have Julian Robin Rogers' piece in the exhibition. I think there's a detailed shot of Lucky who's taking the shot right now. And this really represents their work, these lifelike creatures that aren't humans, but humanoid. And they're supposed to remind you of nature and going back to nature and putting your phone down, enjoying the world and seeing the spaces around you. And we're honored to have them in the show. And they both of them are insanely talented and extremely nice people. I am big fans of theirs. So fun, fun, fun. Longtime member of the Habatat family, Alex Bernstein, did rather well at the show. I think we sold like three or four pieces of his. This is one of my favorite, very colorful, large piece. I think it's like maybe 28 inches by 28 inches. So it's quite substantial in size. And he was there for the show. And I think we sold this one and an orange one and some other pieces of his. So it's always great to have Alex, one of the hardest people working today in glass. You follow him on social media, but we're big fans of Alex's and grateful that he found some homes for his work. Uh, another longtime member of our family, Lucy Lyons, she started dabbling in bronze and glass, and she sent us 2 of these pieces for the show. And I know she has like 3 more coming down the pipeline in the series, and we sold this one to some of our collectors in Chicago that came into town. And it was funny is they came back to town and we put it in a box for them. They took it home, no big deal, right in their car, and they were able to install it in their home. It wasn't super large as a piece, but look at the wonderful glass flowing over the bronze. That's all permanently glued together, so it doesn't come apart. And I think Lucy's making some incredible things, and we're grateful to have her in the show. Someone I really like and I think is making some of the best work of their career is Martin Russell. We have 3 pieces in the exhibition, and we've had a little hiatus from his work because we couldn't get a hold of him. He had some family issues, so the last couple internationals we've missed out on including him in the Glass International show. But he sent 3 monsters, beautiful works to this exhibition, and they're right. It's some of the best looking pieces I've ever seen. This one was the quickest to sell. I think the 2 are still available, but wonderful work by Martin Russell, and I'm honored to have him in the show and that this one found a home. Uh, Egan Atek and Josh Davids, some artists we kind of discovered and took to one of our Glass Coast weekends years ago, and their work is getting better and better. They make these cityscape sculptures that are resemble to me kind of like Jay Musler's bowls in a similar style. However, Jay Musler didn't blow his bowls. He just cut industrial tubes, like giant test tubes. He cut the bottoms off them and then carved the top of them into the cityscapes. Well, Egan and Josh actually blow these, uh, I guess I call them blanks. They're kind of like oval shaped pieces and carve them down, adding multiple layers. And this piece was another impressive work that was quickly sold and I think would be going to Germany as well. So great to have a new artist represented in the show. A longtime member of Habatat, which it's been a hiatus since I started at the gallery. I started in 2005. Thomas Schoon, the Habitat used to show his work in the 80s and 90s and mixing mixed media of stone and glass together. And this giant piece of a sitting figure sold during the show. And we had some other pieces. We have other pieces as well. And Corey will be installing this work for the client when he travels out of the state. Wonderful work by Thomas Schoon. And we've sold these works. This is probably our first sale of the artist since we start representing him again. So we're happy to have him in the show and finding home for the work. This piece just sold maybe a week and a half ago, was large scale Wilfred Gruten's. Many of you are familiar with his work. He is a talented artist that paints and incorporates multiple layers that are then pushed together to create beautiful visions of either, maybe cellular level on this inside of our bodies or universe. And this piece is actually quite substantial. And many of you are familiar with his cube pieces, but he dabbles in other shapes and forms. And this one, I think Debbie's driving down to Tennessee to deliver. So I'm grateful for Debbie to help us do that, along with a couple other pieces that were acquired by the artist, or by the client. But grateful to continue the relationship with Wilford Grutens. He's an amazing talent and just a wonderful work. Jen Blazina, many of you saw this purse. It was kind of like the focal point of the advertising and marketing for our show. It, I actually installed this piece. It's extremely heavy. It's a cast glass pink purse that mounts to the wall on a French cleat bracket. But once it was up, it was stunning. And there was other purses around uh, this particular piece. And it's a very fun piece. We had it on the top of our mailer. It was a big newspaper we sent out to the locals, and it brought people in. We had about 900 people come through the gallery on the grand opening day, which is a lot for our gallery. And it was a lot of fun to see people and interact. But this piece sold along with 3 or 4 of our other purses. So we think Jen's on to something exciting, and we're looking forward to getting more of her works in the near future, and we're honored to have her in the show. This was another impressive work. This is Andre Jacob, and what's interesting about this work is, A, I have no idea how they make it. They've tried to explain it to me multiple times, and I can't fathom how they cast these beautiful waves in this clear optical glass. There's a couple artists I can't just get, and it's just amazing to see the work come together. And their whole family is involved. We did a Zoom a couple of years ago with them, where the father and the 2 sons are involved in the glass. The mother cooks, and one of the sons does all the marketing. So the whole family is involved in just making these wonderful sculptures. And if you don't have an Andre Jacob, I suspect you should get one, because he's making some of the top. They are making some of the top work of his career. But it is a father who's the planner and actual creator of every piece. We've done rather well with Amber Cohen's little freestanding sculptures. They're priced really well, and they're very fun and beautiful, and they represent a style of our full-blown, installation work, where she has panels that are on the walls usually. And they range in price from, like, $35 to $1,800. And it's great that we're opening up a little market for the glass community. We have a great piece and a great name to start with. She's in the Corning Museum of Art. She has work at other galleries and other museums, and you can own a piece of hers at this scale, and they're quite wonderful. Looking for the right one for me someday. If they don't sell out, we have one left at the gallery. Shelley Allen, a longtime member of our Habatat family, a student of William Morris, a master of the hot sculpting and cold working and all kinds of mixed media. I actually have a piece of hers in my house, 2 pieces actually. I have a bull and a giant gazelle. So I'm a big fan of Shelley's work, and this work is another work that was selected by the German Museum and will end up on display for all to see in Europe as an American representation of contemporary glass. Oh, this is Claire Kelly. She is a longtime member of our family as well, and I love the whimsicalness of her work and her impressive characters. And I love the hidden objects. Sometimes you'll find hidden nests. And this piece is actually quite large. I think it's probably maybe like 3.5 feet wide. So it is a really large presentation of her work. Usually I'm used to the smaller scale sculptures where they fit, maybe on top of a 12 by 12 pedestal. But it's great to have this large piece, and it's going to be another one that Corey's going to be installing. Oh, this says Thomas Goon on the bottom, but it should say Bill the Queer. This is a whimsical piece by Bill. Every piece he makes is quite magical. Every piece is carved by a machine, laminated and polished together. And if you know Bill, he's had different bodies of work over time, and this is probably what he's most known for as of late. But I view people's collections from the past, and they have older pieces, kind of droopy carved glass pieces. But it's great to have Bill back in the gallery, and this piece found a home. Getting to the end here, Jamie Harris. This is someone who I think is a really impressive artist, master of color. These large panels. I think this panel is probably like maybe 30 inches tall, 30 inches wide, maybe 38. It's really impressive and on display in the gallery. Someone who has a grasp of color and a glass of what they want the glass to work like and appear as. And someone new for us in the last couple of years, and we're eager to follow his career because we found him rather impressive. And the local Jewish news did an article about him for the Glass52 show as a Jewish artist and sharing his work with the world in the Royal Oak, Detroit area. And lastly, a giant rare Lubinsky called Heart. It was kind of sold before and after the International, but it was a giant, impressive piece, very rare, sold from the actually from the Lubinsky Studios themselves. It's the last one they're going to release ever, apparently, from this series. And it's a really exciting piece. So you have a base there that you can visualize. So there's a chunk of the base that actually comes out, and the base is actually attached to the glass. So there's two panels right there in front of each other. You can kind of see a line in the middle of them. And so one piece goes in, and actually it has the base part of attached where it slides down into the base, kind of like a Lego. And then the other piece slides into the same exact thing. So you have to be very careful when you're putting them in, they don't bang into each other, but there's enough space between them where it's not difficult, but it weighs a ton. You have to be careful. But this piece has found a home and is a real masterpiece. And I've never seen one like it other than in private collections. And the first time we had a chance to offer. So that was a little glimpse of some of the work that sold during the show. Other things definitely sold. We have a whole list of pieces that didn't make the talk. I just put some together, but it's great to see some of the works that found homes from the exhibition, but there's still plenty to see. Lots of works waiting for you at the international show. So come visit. Okay, so on Saturday night, it was me and Debbie and Corey all had a chance to go to the party, Viva the Festival at the Flint Institute of Arts. And this is their largest fundraiser of the year. And it's an all-out bash. And I think tickets are like $175 to $200, $250 per person. Luckily, they comped us, which always helps. But with the presentation was very impressive. You'll see in a second. And I rode up there with Debbie, and Corey showed up later. We'll go through the photos. And if you get bored, let me know because I have a lot. So they did a fundraiser. It was $50 a ticket to possibly win this John Miller burger and Coca-Cola. And I guess they sold over 500 tickets before we even got there, or previous to the show. And we got there, and it was like $50 for one or $100 for three. And I threw in, though I have a burger over there in my room, but it was fun to support him and get the word out. And John was actually at the show. So you walk into the event, and there's a big hall on the right. Many of you have been there for our big internationals. And there was a whole Mexican night theme. They had a band playing and food, and they really dialed in the place, and it was a lot of fun. And for some reason, they're giving away hot sauce at the front door. I don't quite know why. I took some. I haven't tried it yet, but you check in, you get your tickets or whatever, and then you can see the Chihuly up in the sky. I always take a picture with this piece and send it to my wife every year. It's actually a sculpture on the wall of a gentleman, but it's very, very thin. But man, look at that thing. It looks super hyper realistic. So the party got started. The DJ showed up. We were there early enough to just see the whole space, luckily, and we bumped into Tracy Glab and her husband, she's the director of the museum, and she goes, "Thank you for coming. It's going to be chaos soon, but have fun." They had salsa set out and all the bells and whistles, different types of food. They really went all out, and they had a taco bar, really sticking with the theme. And look at this, right down the middle of the hall, they had a whole public stool area people can mingle and have a good time. You're gonna see how busy it is later when I kick it into it. So we took some photos just of the space and the decorations. There's Debbie hanging out. You can see a wonderful Deborah Blumenthal, I think it is, in the background inside. They usually have events outside too, but it was raining, so they had to pull everything in. I found this wonderful woman with this beautiful pineapple hat. I couldn't pass taking a photo of her. So the whole thing was celebration. There was different events. There was a photo booth studio. There was caricatures, different bars, different drinks. They gave you 2 tickets on the way in, and the rest you had to pay yourself. Stopped by and saw the $1 Million Boat by Berta Verleen, which is always a wonderful thing to see at Flint. And they have a great room dedicated just to that piece. So then I figured I would take a little tour of the Fragile Bodies figure and clay show they have up on display, which we visited during the international. Got to see some wonderful clay and glass pieces kind of on display together. Nice juxtaposition of artwork and selection in this room. And some people I know, like this is Irene Frolic and Amaruso on the right. And I'm not too educated in clay artists at the moment, but definitely some talent on display and appreciated by those who came to see the exhibition. And I find the work very fun. And people were coming in and out, but they were heavily security was pretty heavy at keeping people out of the space with food. Look at this fun William Morris piece. That's a wonderful work. I think this came from the Shirley Glass collection, but and Shirley and Sherwin, but it is a wonderful piece by William Morris. This is probably my favorite David Bennett piece ever made. I mean, it's gargantuan. Took a detailed shot up there. He must have put his heart and soul into this piece because it's so large. I would say it's probably like 9 feet in the air. Some fun other clay works on display. Richard Jolly, he was in town for our show. Great to see him. Took a detail of one of these pieces of his. Wonderful clay works on display. I love the barcode on that piece. So this was just a side gallery that they constantly modify and do exhibitions in and mix in different forms. This is a Clifford Rainey work. Shirley Glass had breast cancer and bought this piece representing her struggle. This is a crazy looking head on the wall. I always walk by this piece. I can't get a photo with it because it's way too high in the air. So I take a picture of it. Some other wonderful examples of clay work on display. Wonderful Robin Greeby. This is a giant one. I say it's about 6 feet tall in the exhibition. This is kind of a fun clay piece, very large hat. It's great to see such great talent in the world. Well, I guess I got excited about the Morris again. So Debbie and I did caricatures. This is a picture of me on the right and Debbie on the left. I thought this was fun to include. We had a chance to talk to this gentleman. He's a character artist that graduated and from an art school and was able to do this for a living. So then we went into the actual display and walked around and saw pieces before the crowds really got there. But mind you, everybody was kind of from the area, from Flint, and there were some people that were around elsewhere, but they've been in the museum a lot because they're from the space, but it's always wonderful to see a lot of these works. This Karen Mill McJohnson's work, she was just on the most recent season of Blown Away. But man, it's a beautiful space. They used to have two giant rooms dedicated to glass, and now it's just one. But it's still an incredible experience to come and see. Probably one of my favorite Hank Murda Adams pieces right there. Beautiful Margie Toth. Fun Thurman Statham piece. Another work I have in my collection upstairs. And the theme for this, if you don't know, was when Ferd was working with Shirley and Sherwin, they wanted to collect the best staple pieces that they were creating at the time when they were collecting from like, I don't know, maybe it was 96, 97 to 2005. And so they have some real great masterpieces. They moved John Miller's keys into the exhibition. It was hidden elsewhere before. I love this Eric Hilton piece. It's a monster. It is absolutely beautiful. There's John Miller's keys. Another one of my favorite artists that's no longer with us, Maria Lugosi. Uh, Wonderful work she creates. They're just so powerful and have such great meaning. This is a Torah of some sort. But wonderful treasures. Not wonderful, impressive treasures. This is the great Michael Glancy too. William Carlson. Oh, Carrie Russell Poole just sold a couple of her works recently at our last auction. Out of focus photo of Pullman and Knowles. There's a fennec right in the middle, um, which is a kind of like a fantasy like fox maybe, and Lepovsky and then a Zoltan Bauhaus. Then in the collection they had other donations like this Preston Singletary came from a different collection, not Shirley and Sherwin. Beautiful Irwin Eisch. Love the tree. The open head represents ideas and thinking for the future. Irwin told me that himself. There's a Bill LeQueer there on the left, similar to the one that was sold recently. And then Lazar Lucasi and Moye. See Moye there and Tutsinski. You might have a better shot of them later. Wonderful Karen Lamont and a impressive work by Mary Schaffer, freestanding curtain or waterfall. And of course, you got to have a Harvey Littleton on display. So I walked over to the clay show, and that coat is actually 100% clay, and it's pretty amazing in detail. Now, I don't know many of the artists at all, but I'll give you guys a quick peruse. This is a giant humanoid. This thing's like, I think, 18 feet up in the air. But the clay show is a lot of fun to explore and see. Always a lot of detail, especially when you get to tones of nature. I like that piece a lot. Lot to explore in that work. Probably lots of meaning. It's the June Kaneko. I know that one. Some beautiful tones and colors. Some fun pieces, and some are a little bit scary there on the right. I love this work. multiple vases, vessels all stacked together. A little glimpse of the clay display at the museum. This one was a little bit scary too. Debbie kept pointing this one out to me. Always interesting to see what visions come together in clay. Oh, the place got busy. We had a lot of people. I mean, it got busy quick. I mean, I guess there was 500 people who are coming tonight inside the museum. Had a little bit of food, a little bit of everything. Then we discovered there was a whole nother food bar to go to. So we dabbled in that as well, and had a chance to meet some people and talk to some of the locals. And some people came from Bloomfield Hills, West Bloomfield, besides Flint. But it was quite the happening, and I understand this is why people come every year to be part of the Flint Museum. We even saw John Miller there. He was the guest of the honor, interviewed by the TV, and he saw me, so he gave me a quick point, which is a great little picture I have there. It was great to see John, and he wasn't blowing or doing any demonstrations. There was no glass blowing open at the time, so he just got to mingle, which he really enjoyed. Had a good time. And then there were these human people that were dressed up in pink and blue outfits, almost half naked, walking around. I guess it's a thing. I don't quite know. Didn't quite understand. Kind of stayed away from them, but it was fun to see the crowd and the whole event. And there's John Henry, the past president, having some food. It's great to see him in there. And I got a chance to see some of their paperweight collection. Their Janice chart, or there's a member of the staff that's a big paperweight fan, and she's in the paperweight community, so they always have paperweights on display. I think there's one Paul Stankard in there, and I like going through this because I'm not too familiar with a lot of the people in the world who make paperweights, but I definitely know Paul and a few others. But it's a great experience for me. So the last thing we did, which is not entirely true, but the last thing we did was see this Meditations in Gold in South Asian jewelry. And this was kind of owned by, I think, either a group or a person who collected this Indian jewelry over from the past. And it was really interesting to see. So I kind of took a tour through it, taking photos. And if you will humor me a bit, we can kind of go through this because it shows these wonderful gold and crystal and ruby and sapphire pieces that are made probably from the past late 19th, 20th century, and probably older, that were just really interesting and museum quality work, all hidden behind glass, of course. But I took some decent photos. So if you want to take a trip with me, this was a really interesting show to see these wonderful treasures made from the past in the Indian style. And I probably would wear a lot of these. But there's quite a variety of pieces, whether it goes on your head or your waist or your bracelets and your wrists and rings and jewelry. But it was quite dazzling, is a good word to say, because the everything was, you could see these precious rubies and treasures. I feel like I was in Indiana Jones movie looking through a treasure chest in a way, because you'd see these kind of impressive treasures hidden in a wall or something that Indiana Jones would open up. But I had a good time looking through the whole display and uh, taking these great photos. You can see my phone in the background of this piece. So if this interests you, come to visit Flint. We'll go there with you. Flint's an amazing space to explore and see. Kind of out of focus. This breaks down the different locations of India where things are kind of from. But unfortunately, we couldn't try anything on. But it was a great experience to go through and see. And after we did all this and saw all this stuff, then Corey showed up. He showed up after all this stuff to the actual event, and had a chance to see him for a bit before we skedaddled out of there. But it was a lot of fun to be part of the community and be part of the Flint event, and walk and see and meet people, take some photos, get the caricatures, see the artwork, see the people, and have fun. So it was a real honor to be invited, and we're hoping to be invited the next year and see what they put the plan in. I guess they do a different theme every year, and this was the Mexican theme night. We'll skip through the last few of these so we can kind of get an idea what they kind of look like. That was kind of a really neat one. These go around your waist jewelry, something we don't see anymore. Okay, we'll get off. There's a lot of gold apparently. I'll skip to the end here. We got too many gold pictures. You get the idea. Okay, then Corey showed up. There he is. And it's good to see him and a chance to talk with him and have him see the space. And then the party started. The band got crazy. The music got louder. And then Debbie and I got out of there because we were just done being at the event. But it was a lot of fun to see the people, and it was a great community event, and we're honored to be part of it. I hope we get invited back the next year. So that kind of wraps up the presentation for what sold during Glass52 and the FIA event that was last Saturday celebrating the party. But it was an incredible time. And what was kind of neat, we went outside, they had these orange cones and they were all heavily lit with some giant light and they all were glowing outside. So I'm gonna try to incorporate that in next year's international. So that's a terrible photo. There's me. There's my caricature again. So at the end, it was a lot of fun. So thank you all for joining me today. It was a lot of fun to have you reminisce about what sold during the show and the trip to Flint. And you're welcome to come see the Glass International anytime. And should you see, we have more work available on our website, but if you're ever interested in seeing work that's available, call me, contact me. We'll set something up. And if you're like watching us on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit that bell, and we'll see you next weekend.